Hi, welcome to the tutorial for the Edit tool in CORTEX. I'm Ian, and today I'll be walking you through the basics of the GUI and working in the Edit tool. Function help for this tool is available in the Help menu, and as we go through the demo, keyboard shortcuts will appear on the screen for easy reference. For this demo, it's best if you have prior knowledge of setting up projects and jobs in CORTEX. If this is your first time working in CORTEX, we recommend visiting tutorials.mtifilm.com for a few introductory tutorials before coming back here to learn about the Edit tool. Alright, let's get started. The Edit tool in CORTEX is a non-linear edit system designed to give you the ability to cut together dailies, conform an EDL using original camera files, and easily assemble IMF and DCP packages for delivery. The sidebar is where you'll access your media asset bins containing clips, the project library, and compositions. Clips will contain the picture and audio media imported into CORTEX. The project library provides a bin in which regularly used media, like bars, black, and slates, can be stored and used across all workflows and jobs in your project. Slates created within CORTEX are automatically added to the project library. Any imported video or image clips must be added manually. When a composition is created, it's going to be added to the sidebar beneath the clip bin and the project library. Each newly created composition automatically becomes the green active composition. Under each player window is its navigation palette. This area is going to contain player controls, mark buttons, and jog controls, as well as the timecode position registers. There are several ways to navigate your composition timeline. In addition to scrubbing the timeline with your mouse, you can navigate using keyboard shortcut keys, stepping frame by frame, or cut by cut. Jump forward or backward a certain amount by using the plus or minus keys and the number pad of your keyboard. Additionally, you can jump to any existing timecode in your composition by entering it on the number pad. Also under each monitor are the appropriate editorial function buttons. Insert and overwrite are under the source monitor so that clips can be added to the timeline. Lift and extract are under the composition monitor, allowing the user to remove marked ranges and selected segments from the timeline. Between the two navigation palettes are the mark in and mark out timecode registers. The registers on top are for source clips, and the registers on the bottom are for the compositions. Clicking any of the buttons will jump to their timecode location. To the right of the composition timeline are the editorial command controls. The Slate Generator is the only command without a keyboard equivalent, and it's very similar to the burn-in window in each deliverable configuration. Trim modes get enabled here. Click on the icon to enable gap trim mode, turning the icon red. When you hold Control and click the trim icon, it's going to turn yellow, indicating that CORTEX is now in ripple trim mode. Match Frame offers many options to easily find a correct frame from the composition within the source media in CORTEX. Add Break adds a CORTEX break to the existing media in the timeline. And these three commands insert and control the effects like fades in and fades out. These are the track control buttons. The V and A buttons manually enable or disable editing for the video and audio tracks in the timeline. The M and S buttons control the optional metadata and subtitle tracks in the same way. You can easily add these optional tracks by holding Shift and clicking the desired track button. These are the control columns for your source clips and your composition tracks. You can click them to manually enable or disable any track for editing, or right-click on either column's buttons to route source audio channels to the record channels. When a source clip is selected, CORTEX will automatically enable the appropriate video and/or audio tracks for that clip if the Follow Source checkbox is enabled. For audio monitoring, enable either the yellow Source Audio Monitor buttons or the green Composition buttons. To zoom the timeline to the mouse cursor position, use the mouse wheel or Shift plus and Shift minus. Use the scroll bar to scroll back and forth in the timeline, and double-click the scroll bar or press Ctrl Shift minus to fit the entire timeline within the timeline window. Now, let's do some editing. Create a new composition here. Today we're going to work with a simple composition. We'll go over IMF and DCP compositions in another demo. When filling in the information dialog for the composition, Your selection of either full or SMPTE black dictates the video range of the black clip that will be created in the project library and then inserted into the timeline when you use the Shift-H command for your automatic insertion of black. If your composition contains HDR media, enable the HDR checkbox, and if that media was created in Dolby Vision, enable the Dolby Vision checkbox. If you enable the Dolby Vision checkbox, a metadata track will be automatically added to the timeline. If a Dolby Vision metadata XML exists, the values for the remaining fields will be automatically updated once the XML is added to the timeline metadata track. If the composition is HDR but not Dolby Vision, you can fill the fields in manually at this point, or later using the metadata tab in the Edit tool. Once completed, click Create. Choose your desired clip and mark the segment you want to edit into the composition. Then drag your clip into the composition. When dragging in the composition, CORTEX will magnetically snap the media to either the composition playhead, any break or edit, or any mark in or out that's present. To insert a clip, begin dragging it to the timeline. Then press and hold the Control key. Then drop the media onto the timeline. If you want to use the classic three-point editing techniques, mark your source clip and place a third mark on your timeline where you want to place that clip. Then, select the Overwrite or Insert options to edit that clip into your timeline. To lift a segment, leaving black in its place, select or mark that desired segment, and then hit the Delete key, or press the Lift button. To extract a segment from the composition, select or mark that segment and click the Extract button. With a few clips in our timeline, let's talk a little bit more about trims. Trims are enabled in either gap mode or ripple mode. Click on the Trim button to enable gap trim mode, which only affects the clips being directly trimmed, leaving the overall length of the timeline intact. To enable ripple trim mode, hold Ctrl and click the Trim button. The icon will turn yellow, and any trim or repositioning action will ripple all downstream media to make or fill in space required by the trim. Make trims graphically by dragging the head or tail of the desired clip, or by clicking the side of an edit you want to trim and entering a trim duration using the number pad. CORTEX offers gap, ripple, rolling, slide, and slip trims, all of which are going to be covered in more detail in an upcoming tutorial. When repositioning segments, CORTEX only moves the segments that are selected, even if there's synced audio linked to that clip. So be sure to select all your desired tracks before repositioning. To create a fade in or fade out, place the playhead at the frame position where the fade in begins or where the fade out ends. Then press the Effect button to add the effect. Then, to set a fade duration, use the mouse or the number pad to navigate the playhead to the desired start or end point. Then, press the corresponding Effect In or Effect Out button. To render a composition, right-click on the composition and select Render. A dialog window will open, and by default, the start and end timecodes of the composition are entered into their corresponding fields. If in and out marks are present on the composition, you can then choose to use them as start or end times for the render by clicking these Mark In or Mark Out buttons. Choose the render frame rate and which deliverables you want to make, and press OK. And that is the Quick Start demo for the Edit tool in CORTEX. Please watch our other tutorials to more fully learn about CORTEX by going to tutorials.mtifilm.com. For support, to submit a help ticket, or to find useful information about CORTEX, please check out forum.mtifilm.com. Thanks.